Welcome to the TE Spotlight, where we shine a light on the next and new authors, artists, comedians, choreographers, actors, directors, musicians, internet personalities, up-and-comer or well-established, people you need to know and people you need to know more about. This is the TE Spotlight. Hey, you've tuned into the TE Spotlight, and this is Tomas as always. Today, I have a conversation planned for you that is absolutely amazing, and it's with Dr. Nguyen Tran. He has professional expertise in electronics and communication engineering, which we're going to talk about that later because my mind is already blown, right? But today we're talking about his new book, which is Mind Control Yoga. So, Dr. Tran, welcome to the TE Spotlight. How are you doing today?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
Absolutely.
And I hope I can release some information to the world about my book.
Let's start right there with the book. Tell us a little bit about the book and what you intended to accomplish by writing it.
Yes, thank you. Well, the book took place about 60 years ago when I came to Australia to study electronic engineering. And I was, as a freshman, I was caught in a lot of stress and problems, language problems, cultural problems, English problems, and so on and so forth. And I had trouble in learning. So I went to the university medical center, and they say, yes, well, you do yoga, so you should learn meditation. So they put me in meditation and want to empty my mind to get rid of the stress. But it didn't work. So I said, well, they said, we can give you a ECT. You know, ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like that either because my friend was given that and he failed in the exam and he was sent home. So I refused to do that. So I went into a shop trying to find some books on yoga meditation that suit my mind. And I found a book called Hatha Yoga, written by an American called Theodore Bernard. He was a PhD student where he went to India to learn yoga. And he was taught by a couple of Indians how to do yoga and meditation. And his book is very well written, very clear, and not much of the religion and spirituality. So I like the book a lot. So I bought it from the shop for $1.50, and the shop owner was delighted because the book was there for a while, but no one paid interest in it. And he said to me that I would enjoy every page of the book. And I say, yes, I'm thinking of this book to learn yoga, to write a book on yoga meditation to clear my mind, to improve my mind. And so that's where the book started. But I didn't write it until when I retired from academic job, just only not many years ago.
So this...
And the title of the book, sorry.
No, please, go ahead on. Yes? I'm sorry. No.
The title of the book was suggested by the... by the book Hatha Yoga of Theodore Bernard, because while reading this title aloud, Hatha Yoga, and some voice came to my head, said that you have to control your mind. And I said, how do we do that? He said, by controlling your breath. And therefore, mind control through breath regulation is a title that came up. I was nurturing it for probably 60 years before I write the book. So you accumulate a lot of experience and information on the book to write it, to pass out onto the world, and so that they can take advantage of the information in the book to have a healthy and young life. They can do things. The book starts with low-impact yoga poses. In meditation, people often sit in lotus position and sit there like that for probably 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. But in this book here, in meditation, I use low-impact yoga poses. In other words, you move. You don't sit still. And then you use the breath. Breath is controlled by the mind to empower the mind. and then you use mind visualization of 7 centers in the body and 7 centers in the mind. Now, the result of all this after my 60 years of practicing is as follows. I do well in my study. I do well in my sports. I dare to dream and succeed. I overcame challenges and difficulties. I tapped the power of the mind. I hone skills and talents. I banish stress. I avert osteoporosis. I reduce diabetes. I can lose weight. My brain get better, and I do better in sport, and I improve reproduction, and I remain young and healthy. I don't have any sickness. I don't take any pills or any operations. There you are.
So you know what I want to do? I want to, because this is so fascinating to me. So I actually want to take a step back, and let's talk about you for a second, and then we'll get back into this subject, because I think it would be helpful for people to know a little bit more about your background. Because you mentioned that you were in education and electronics and engineering. Tell us about your journey. How do you get from that to writing this book?
Well, I just came to Australia because I got a scholarship to come to Australia to study electronic engineering. The Australian people want to offer this scholarship to Vietnamese students who pass the exams to come to Australia to do the thing. I thought it's very easy. I do study half a day, the other half day I go to the beach and, swimming and surfing and so on and so forth. But when I arrived, I didn't have any time to do that because my mind is so stressed and so on and so forth. So I had to solve that problem to repay the confidence that the Australian people have given me to do study and come home and help the Vietnamese people.
Do you mind me asking why you were so stressed? Like, what was so stressful, besides the obvious leaving Vietnam and going to Australia, but what was so difficult, so stressful for you at that point that you needed to find something? What drove you towards that? Yeah,
the stress is because I came from the village in Vietnam. And in the village, we didn't study in the high school there. We didn't do much about electronics and all these things. Students in Australia, when they go to do electronic engineering, they usually have a lot of practice on electronics and things like that. We have no background on the electronics. Number two is the English that I learn at home is different from the English I found in Australia. They say to me that, you come to Australia to die. But I say, no, I don't die here. So I have to get over that sort of English. In the class, I very often couldn't take notes because my English is different from that. So it took a while for me to get used to. And then the other problem is the food. Now, very rich food, a lot of protein and things like that. I usually eat a lot of vegetables, and so that's another problem. And then getting used to the way people. We were the first few that arrived in Australia, but at that time in Australia is haven't had much information on people from Asia, so. It's very difficult. And then we go out on the street, everyone look the same. They dress in the same way and so on and so forth.
Right.
So we got all kind of problems, yeah.
So this is interesting to me because it makes sense that yoga was a part of your journey to dealing with this stress, because we're talking about mind, body, and spirit. And it seems as though it was the food, that was the body, it was the culture, the mind, the dealing with the engineering and that kind of thing, and coming from afar. So everything, mind, body, spirit, emotions was out of whack, and yoga really helped with that. Why did you decide to write this book, though, and share it with others? What do you want other people to take from this?
The trouble was that they put me into meditation at the University Medical Center. They asked me to empty my mind. I said, sit there for hours virtually, and they say, you keep wait until the mind is clear. But it never gets clear, because I'm an active person. I want my mind to work, to think of problems, to solve problems, to invent problems, and things like that, invent new ideas, and so on and so forth. So that technique doesn't work with me. So I had to think of a new technique, and then that conversation with the person who sold me the book at $1.50 gave me the idea that I have to empower my mind to be able to get out of stress problem. And what I did was I did this breath regulation. I invented 4 types of breath. One is modify normal breath. Instead of doing it for 1.5 seconds, I do it 6 seconds. That modify normal breath. And I do oxygen breath. That was 21 seconds. And I do quantum breath, 21 seconds. I do resonant breath, that even add another 28 seconds. So all these breaths empower my mind, inspire it to think, to be creative, and give me ideas. All the problem that the electronic professor gave me to solve, they give me a solution very quickly while I'm meditating. So I'm very good. After 1 week, I feel better. After 4 weeks, all my problem gone. I got more time for my sport and so on and so forth. I become a good student living in Australia like an Australian student. And the idea of this new method of meditation has improved my thinking very well. So I had the idea that when I get finished my study and so on, I will write a book to let other people know of the new technique. So I build up information from that, read more books on yogas, and put all my idea after each meditation. New idea come up. I say, I got to do this, I got to do that. And then the idea come up. I say, I have to remain young. How do you do that? Well, the body have 10 systems that's sponsored by the brain. The skin, muscle, the the bone, the nerves, the digestion, the excretory, the breath, the air, the blood, reproduction, endocrine. Endocrine is 7 hormones in the body that's supported by the mind. So to remain young, you have to activate all these things. In your meditation, you think of them all the time. And then the other problem is to get over a thing like weight. You can visualize losing weight. You can get osteoporosis. You can visualize the calcium in the body so that the osteoporosis can get reduced. And you can do diabetes. You think of how the sugar is maintained in the body to get all this. So all these things, if you keep on going from young to senior 80s, then you can remain young. And so all this information I kept up, and I then put in a book now for people to follow and to see whether it worked on them.
What was the moment in which you realized you wanted to be a writer?
Well, we write a lot of assignments and so on. And in study, we are encouraged to do inventions and write up new things that we think of. So but writing a yoga book is not in my class, in my study.
Right.
But I think that, writing in communication is a good thing to pass on something new that you find out. It should be electronics, but in my case, I say, I do yoga as well. So I find a lady who's very friendly with the Vietnamese students, and she says she can check my English and read it and tell me whether it's in the right style or not. And she reckoned that I have a breakthrough because I introduce electronics into yoga.
So I was going to ask you how your profession and your background influenced that.
I like to communicate with the Australian people, to